Hello, Oakland County FC family. Robert Kerr, Media Director of the club, here with you for Oakland County Football Club Extra. Awesome to be joined by my play-by-play partner back to us for 2025. Hey, Mitch Gatsky is here with us.
Rob, thanks so much. Appreciate you setting this up. Really looking forward to our guest today.
All right, yep, our special guest back for year two in purple. See head coach Steve Walker. Welcome back, year two. How you feeling, sir?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, very excited. Super excited to get started with the group. I'm really looking forward to the season. I think we've got a lot of good things happening right now with the club. A lot of good positive things. Like I said, I think it's going to be a fun summer.
Yeah, everything's difficult. The first time you were in the top chair for the first time last year, going into year two, is everything kind of seeming a little bit more familiar? You got the cadence of the season and kind of know what to expect. A little bit of a proof of concept, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I mean, obviously the first year you're going into things, you're kind of finding your feet a little bit. Obviously finding your feet within the league, and it's pretty short. 2.5 months altogether. The players are kind of coming in a bit of a revolving door. I think last year was one of the hardest things for me was just the not the same set squad, week in week out. But learned a lot last year. Obviously, a lot of things that I probably wouldn't do again. Probably a lot of things that I would do again. So yeah, a lot more confident. Like I said, a lot happier going into this season. I just feel like I've got a little bit more of a handle on the league itself and the teams and how the season will go. So
Yeah, big changes ahead of the new year, new ownership and new coaches. You have a full coaching staff with you this year.
yeah, and again, one of the new things with obviously with Dennis and Dom coming in, one of the first questions they asked me was about the support staff. The guys that were with me last year, I think did a fantastic job. Really did help me out a lot. But I wanted to try and bring in some coaches that kind of maybe aligned a little bit more with me as far as how I kind of see the game. Guys that I can also learn off as well, which I think is massively important. The three guys I've brought in are vastly experienced. I've got a ton of knowledge between the three of them. Very, very well known, not just in Michigan or the Midwest, but throughout the country. So, I mean, my two assistant coaches, Steve Arce and Mike Lupinick, I think were excellent additions to the squad. I think that they're going to help me out a lot, both on and off the field. Both bring a different skill set. I think that will help. And then we have a goalkeeper coach this year, Mike Sheehy. Mike's been around for a long time within college and academies. He'll obviously have a big impact what happens with the goalkeeper position. I think it's a huge position that needs its own specialized coach. And I think Mike will do a fantastic job with that. So,
And coach, along those lines of new coaching, getting the players kind of on board with what you guys are looking for from them. Wanted to see if you could give us a glimpse behind the curtain a little bit into training sessions and what you guys are working on, whether it's, a lot of fitness early on and, how that evolves over the season once everybody gets up to game speed. What are you guys focusing on in training sessions?
something that we were able to do this year was with the schedules to get a lot of the games on weekends. So we were able to utilize the weekdays, to get a regular set of training, in to actually make sure that we can actually put in some good work with the squad. The one beauty of the season starting the way it is, these guys are kind of rolling off their spring seasons. So I'd probably say the majority of them are somewhat in game shape. Obviously, they've got this 2 or 3 weeks now, which is, finals, exams weeks, where they're maybe not training every day. But, fitness wise, we do have a little bit of a preseason. We were able to have a couple of weeks before we do start our first game. We're able to have at least 6 training sessions. I think potentially 3 with the whole squad, because obviously they kind of drip in as their semesters kind of end. So, and then obviously we want to try and play, a couple of preseason games. The one big point this year for bringing in the new coaches was to kind of almost split the groups up a little bit as the session goes. I mean, predominantly a lot of the times, the session will start with some kind of, obviously physical movement, dynamic movement. Usually from there, it's some kind of fun activity, maybe an activation activity, which kind of, gets the body and the mind kind of moving and thinking of those movements. Then from there, obviously, you want to start to introduce, a ball to everything that you're doing with the technical aspects, just sharpening some of the technical sides of things that you want to do. And then for the first 2 or 3 weeks, predominantly a lot of it will be tactical. I'm implementing a new system this summer, which was something that we recruited heavily for, in specific positions. We've recruited for a specific system. I'll leave that till May 17th for you guys to see that. So that'll be a little bit of excitement for you, a little something to look forward to. But obviously, with the staff that I have put in place, I mean, as far as their roles within the training sessions, obviously Steve will help me quite a lot with the on-field stuff. Mike will do some stuff as well. Mike's primarily role will be the analysis of the games. Mike is a very, very, very good analyzer of games, and also he does a very good scout of teams. So that's something that we're going to also implement again this year. I think what we're trying to do is trying to replicate, a high-level college program, which is what these guys are used to. And when they come to us, they need the analysis, they need the breakdown. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? They also need the scout. What's this team going to do? What are their preferences? So there's quite a little bit for that first couple of weeks. And we'd love to have you guys come out, to a couple of the training sessions. You're more than welcome to come out and, we'll kind of go through a few things with you of what we're looking to do for that first couple of weeks. And then obviously as the season progresses, it's about keeping people sharp, keeping people in good shape, making sure the training sessions are obviously at a high level, making sure obviously there's a recovery factor to it. If we may be playing on Monday, we train Tuesday. There's a few different things that go on. So that's, I think, one of the big differences this year is the amount of training that we're going to do. Close to 30 training sessions over the 2 months. I think there's 9 film sessions that we've scheduled as well, where the guys will be able to use, the film room at the distillery there where you guys did the interview a couple of weeks ago, get the group in there and kind of go through a few things. So stuff that we weren't really able to do logistics wise last year. So
big season ahead for Oakland County Football Club in 2025. New ownership, new filled out coaching staff, and an increase in scheduled training sessions. So the more games, more field times, more sessions in the belt would hopefully equate to a better output there for Oakland County Football Club going into a big season ahead. And so with all those new things, there's also some new players to get excited about. What can you say about some of the returning and new players that fans can get excited about?
Obviously, coming back into it this year, there was there's a few players that obviously I wanted to work with again. I think that did an excellent job. Colin Arce, as an example, Carson Balaga, Braden Stevanovic. I was able to bring Rob back as a goalkeeper, which is a great addition. Me and him have been in touch quite a lot, and I think the way it kind of worked out, I'm glad to have him on board. As far as the new players coming in, do have quite a lot of exciting players coming in. A couple of the new guys I'd probably like to highlight is a player that I tried to get last summer, Will Eby. He's the Michigan State centre back. Very good player, excellent player. Obviously, leads the back line for Michigan State, but great all-round person. I think he'd be great for the squad. Obviously brings a lot of experience. Also on the experience side of things, we have a new goalkeeper this year, Finn Urak, former Oakland University goalkeeper, who's currently coach as a grad assistant at Longwood. Tons of experience. Will definitely, between him and Rob and Q, I think our goalkeeper core will be one of the strongest in the league for sure. I think them three will definitely push each other to get the best out of them. Moving forward, a player that I've worked with for the last couple of years, current Mr. Soccer for Michigan, Alex Rosine, who was an early admit to Notre Dame this spring, has been playing some spring games with them. So I saw Alex yesterday. He came back for our senior day, so he's ready to go. Excited about that. It's good to have Jake Spadafora back with the program. I think Jake's had a great spring season, and obviously bringing his younger brother Luke in as well, who's a fantastic player. I think Luke's got a ton of potential. I think he's definitely going to be one of the people that's going to come in and make a big impact this year at USL2. He's had a great spring season at Michigan State, so I expect a lot of good things from Luke and from Jake, obviously coming back in. And then I think finally, a guy that I'm really looking forward to working with is the current Horizon League Freshman of the Year, Mateo Correa from Cleveland State. Just a great all-round player, can score, can set goals up. Again, new to USL2, so I think he's going to come in, and put a big impact in. And again, with the guys that we're bringing back in, the returning guys, I think with the good mix that we've got already, there's a lot of competition for places, which will only produce, a healthy squad for the summer. So.
How important, Coach, is it to have some returning players who, like you say, can raise that level, show the new guys kind of what the expectation is, and you've already got that working relationship going with them, so they can kind of help spread that word to the newer guys on the team? How important are those returning players for what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, huge, and again, returning players that I've got, a good relationship with, that I can kind of have that conversation, about, what I want to kind of input with the team. Because summer soccer is a little different, they're there, almost for their own personal gain, to keep themselves in shape and keep themselves ticking along. And with the ability to maybe play in a USL2 team or a Midwest Premier League team, they can play for a couple of different, teams. It's hard to kind of have a team like buy into into what a club's trying to do. I think that was the key for me, was to try and make sure that the guys that came back in, were the guys that kind of bought in last year to what we wanted to do. Obviously we maybe weren't as successful as we wanted to be last year, but the guys left, when I talked to them in December time around, was thinking about coming back, and we were kind of working on that. Straight away, the first 4 guys I talked to was like, absolutely, I'm definitely coming back. Yeah, 100%, can't wait for the summer. So that right in itself, it kind of becomes infectious within the group. So then when the groups kind of come in, they can kind of, hey, listen, this is what we're kind of working towards. I think, Dennis and Dom have kind of highlighted pretty strongly what, the goals are for the team this year. Playoffs is still looming over us. I think it's still something that we can possibly get to this year. But again, it's creating that environment within the group, that togetherness within the group, which is easy to do within club and within college, because they're there together all the time. The tough part that we kind of have is we have 2/3 of the squad living at home, 2/3 of the squad are kind of sharing a couple of houses. So there's a few things we'll do differently this year. A lot more team kind of bonding type things. The bus, I think, is a fantastic idea. I know you guys want to jump in on that when we travel. And that'd be a great idea, just to kind of get that camaraderie together within the group. And again, from there, you want them to, when they go back to their programs in the fall, when it comes around to this conversation, November, December time, of what you do in summer 26. We had a great thing at Oakland County. Let's get back over there. Let's push to get to the playoffs again, and let's see how far we can kind of go. So that's kind of what we're trying to create this year, and kind of moving forward within the group.
So this year, it sounds like we have an array of exciting players and a mix of young players and experienced ones as well. And the coaches on hand and help you guide the players to play the way you want them to this year. And so with all that said, what is the tactics? What do you want to see from this group of players that you've been able to assemble, really from top to bottom this year compared to last?
I mean, I go back to what, the conversation we had this time last year, and I wanted us to have a bit of an identity of a team that's difficult to play against. I mean, we're back at Royal Oak. I think if we can make that, a little bit of a fortress, like teams do with their home base. We get a good crowd going. We have phenomenal support. The guys and girls that come and watch us play, they do a fantastic job. And the support base is excellent. So I want us, again, another focus heavily on the recruitment of the defenders. I think that was a big thing for me this year. There was too much chopping and changing for me last year for us to kind of get a solid base. From there, again, once we've got that solid base, it's just about creating opportunities and being a fun team to watch. We've got a lot of guys that can create opportunities, a lot of guys that can express themselves in the final third. But again, it's about making sure that we're solid from the back, which I think we've done a very good job of this year, and then letting the guys that go forward express themselves from there. So again, we want to win games. That's ultimately the big thing. That there's a lot of very good competition in this league, and I think that it'll only get better. I know the new team coming in from Indiana are a strong outfit, so everybody else last year has only gotten better. I think it's going to be a good season, but with what we've put together and the team that we've got put together, and I think we can stay relatively injury free, I think we should be there or thereabouts.
So you mentioned, Coach, being able to recruit to a system. What you want to have the team do and you were able to set out and find the players to fit that. Do you feel like you're in a good spot? You just mentioned injury. We know that always rears its head every season. Do you feel like you've got enough players in the right positions to make this thing work?
Yes, yes and no. Without going into too much detail, there's still a couple of pieces that we're waiting to find out on tomorrow. There's been a couple of guys that have figured out that maybe they can't make this work for the summer, so they're not. What they said that they were going to come in, now they're not. So obviously we've tried to replace those players, but again, you're looking for a somewhat like for like, and then you also don't just want to bring a player in just for the sake of bringing a player in. You'd almost rather use, if that was the case, a younger player, maybe give them the opportunity like we did last year with some of the younger guys, that are obviously going to be returning again this year, kind of let them, dip their toes in the water a little bit. But again, a lot of that, I will have to say, has been led by Dom. Dom Troyer, the president, has been phenomenal. He really has, as far as like us putting the groups together, and the guys that basically, if you've reached out to us at Oakland County, we know about it. We've either watched your film as a coaching staff, and we've got on a call with all these guys. We've probably had about 15 calls with players as well before we've actually signed them, just to kind of get to know them a little bit. So I think that's been a big help, because that was one of the things that I kind of stressed from the beginning, was this was how I wanted to play. And then that's kind of how we've recruited for that. Again, I'm confident. I think we've got a lot of, our squad depth is pretty good. And again, there's always going to be one or two that you maybe, I'm maybe not thinking him, a certain spot, and he comes in and, and something happens, or another player kind of catches the level pretty quick, or there's a few things, obviously a few variables that can happen during the course of the season. But I feel like we've recruited well enough whereby if we do, touch wood, we do have an injury somewhere, it's not a debilitating injury to the point if we struggle to play, we're able to bring in, if somebody's injured, okay, he's not playing today, okay, but we have this, we have a ready-made replacement right there. So I feel that's something that we've been able to do and do a very good job of. Like I said, there's I think my biggest headache with some of the positions is who do I play, in the conversation. So I'm glad USL have upped it to 20 this year. So that definitely helps a little bit with some of the conversations that I'll have to have.
So you said amongst the things, layers of infrastructure and care for the players to add camaraderie, the bus trips, all the players are going to be riding out to all the different games, 6 home, 6 away this year. So 6 different road trips that the team gets to bond and whatnot. But I got to bring in, how are those conversations going to go? On the team call a couple weeks ago, you had everyone list off their favorite teams. And within the groups of teams that were listed, there was a lot of opposing sides of Liverpool, Manchester United, yourself, Manchester United guy. How are those bus rides on the team bus going to go with, Liverpool, perhaps the champions, and there's a lot of Manchester United guys on that bus ride too.
I'll be honest with you, Rob, I was a little disappointed by how many Liverpool fans I do have on the team. So I had known that ahead of time, maybe we'd have had some different conversations. But
Put that on the
yeah,
recruiting form next time.
absolutely, that's going to be my first question. I should have asked that before we signed the player. So I'm also more worried there was more Real Madrid fans, and I know Mike Lupinic's a huge Barca fan, so I think we're going to have it from both sides of things. I mean, obviously the fun part by getting them to let me know who they're supporting. It's always good to have a bit of banter with the players. It's also good to see how few United fans they are. Obviously, they've grown up with United not being very good, so this I can understand where why they are what they are. I mean, I think the good thing is with these guys is a lot of them already kind of know each other as well, from previous, like even down to, example, Brady Hilden, the guy from Notre Dame that we signed. Brady's from Reno, Nevada, played at Shattuck St. Mary out in Minnesota. The link up with Alex Rosine was part of the reason why, he kind of connected up. But as soon as we signed Brady and was released, at least 2 or 3 of the guys that played against him previously were like, wow, we signed him. Like I remember him from Shattuck. So a lot of the guys kind of know each other already. So I think the camaraderie, the call the other day was pretty funny. Some of their faces when they were like, kind of measuring people up, like he plays the same position as I do. And like I was getting a couple of text messages from guys after, like, wow, we've got quite a few centre backs or quite a few midfielders, and like, yep, that's what it's all about, boys. About competition this year. So, I mean, straight away, we're creating that competitive environment for these guys, and I think we can, as a coaching staff, if we outline that from day one, what the expectations are within the group, then I think we'll be fine. I mean, obviously, as the season goes, there'll be some people that will play. There'll be some people, like I said already, there'll be ideally a core 6 or 7, that we're always kind of picking from, and then when we need the rest, they're ready to kind of come in, when they need it. But again, I mean, if we're not creating a competitive environment, we're not really doing our job either as a club, to get these guys ready. If that's the case, then if they didn't want that competitive element, then they shouldn't be playing with us.
All right, Coach, you're getting me a little bit fired up talking about this. The season is, just a couple weeks away, and just the days are counting down if you're watching this video. But could you do me a favor? Could you give us a hype speech for May 17th when Oakland County FC 2025 season kicks off?
I'm not really a hype man. I mean, come out and watch us play this year. We'll be a lot better ticket than we were last year. I can't promise wins, but I can promise excitement. So I don't know about a hype man. You don't really know much English people then, clearly, because we're about as deadpan as they come.
Yeah, but you can get me hyped up. You were getting me hyped up talking about the season of play, stirring up a competitive environment. But I've definitely seen an Englishman get you hyped. But we shall see what happens come May 17th. 6 home games at Royal Oak High School Stadium. I mean, at least give us a bleed purple here, Coach.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can't wait for the summer, guys. For sure. Bleed purple.
All right. For myself, Robert Kerr, appearing with me on all the games, just about, I think, for 2025. Mitch Gatsky, he's going to be on the color commentary. I can't wait to be on the broadcast. I can't wait to see you on the sideline, Coach, to lead Oakland County FC into, I believe, the 10th season of play and the biggest season yet. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach, and can't wait to see everybody out there for Oakland County football, May 17th through June and July. And we'll see you out there. As always, bleed purple.